Yes guys, welcome to Blades Focus. I'm Brad and today's video is a bit different. This is going to be more of a documentary style video. I want to talk about Wilder's rise from League One to the Premier League with United in his first spell. I want to talk about how he took us from League One to the verge of Europe in the space of 5 years. And then a bit later on in this video, I'm going to break down the tactics that worked so well and got us that far. To start this video, we need to go back to the 8th of May 2016 when we lost 2-0 at home to Scunthorpe to finish 11th in League One. And that meant 2016-2017 would be our 6th consecutive year in League One. Of course, Nigel Adkins was in charge for that season, his only season at the club. After that 2-0 loss to Scunthorpe, it was soon sacked and then the replacement came in and that's where this story starts. On the 12th of May 2016, Chris Wilder and Alan Neil were appointed to the club as manager and assistant manager. Of course, the pair won League Two with Northampton in 2015-2016. And of course, for Wilder, this was very special. Of course, a fan of the club, a ball boy of the club, a player of the club. So to their managers, boyhood club was just a massive step for him and one that he would not regret. And we needed something to boost the spirits really after that Nigel Adkins season, because the 2015-26 season was our worst in League One to date. And it just felt like we were getting trapped in League One, wasn't going to get out anytime soon. As you can see on screen now, although we didn't have the budget to sign too many players, we signed quite a few on frees or loans. A lot of these players helped us in League One and beyond, such as Duffy, Fleck and O'Connell. It was a massive rebuild that summer. Of course, we need a lot of players in to replace the dross from the last season. It gets to the start of the season now, 1-0 away at Bolton in our first game. Of course, we had such high hopes going into the season, and then of course we lose to Bolton on the opening day. But as you can see, the results didn't get better. A draw against Rochdale, a 3-0 loss to Southend and a loss in the last minute against Millwall. But that loss to Millwall in the last minute was the thing that changed everything for Chris Wilder and Sheffield United. And I've got to say, it's very unconventional how it all happened. So after Millwall away, everyone's on the team bus, ready to head back to Sheffield. But then Chris Wilder stops the bus as had an off licence and said to Bill a shot, £100, get as many beers as you can. And I don't know what was in them beers, but it changed the season completely. As for the rest of the season, we would only lose 3 more games, which was the same as the first 4. The week after that Millwall game, we faced Oxford at home. We tried out this 5 at the back system. And as the season went on, we noticed this overlapping centre-back system working. I'll touch on the tactics a bit more in detail when I get to the Premier League era, but I've got to say they revolutionised United. We had a brilliant promotion race that year with Bolton and Scunthorpe. We went top of the league on New Year's Day, I believe, and we never looked back since. In that season, we got 100 points, 30 wins, 10 draws, 6 losses. I scored a whopping 92 goals, which were 12 more than the second best. We had some brilliant games that season, just scoring for fun like no tomorrow. Of course, the standout players were players such as Kieran Freeman, John Fleck, and of course, Billy Sharp. I mean, Billy Sharp captained the club to the League One title, scoring 30 goals in the process. It was a brilliant achievement. We was back in the Championship after 6 years, but little did we know that was just the start. The summer of 2017 comes around, we don't sign too many players such as Ender Stevens and George Baldock. I don't think we had too many expectations out of the start of the season, just stay up, try and get mid-table. But what was to follow in the first half of that season was just extraordinary. By the 12th of September, we'd played 7 games, 5 wins, 2 losses. And then the 24th of September 2017 rolls about, and what a day that was. Of course, we beat our city rivals 4-2 on their own turf, with a magnificent individual display from David Brooks, 2 goals from Leon Clark, 1 from Fleck, and of course that famous one from Duffy. And of course, that one from Duffy 2 minutes after they'd equalised, they started bouncing, they didn't bounce again. And it just felt like we'd carried a lot of that momentum from League One into the Championship. We was flying. This brilliant run of form lasted till November. On the 17th of November, we beat Burton 3-1 away to go top of the table. But that was also where the season started to go downhill. Although we won that match 3-1 at Burton, we lost a key player, Paul Cooch, to a broken leg. That season, the midfield of Cooch, Duffy and Fleck just could not be stopped. But that injury completely derailed our season. Our form went downhill. We finished 10th in the end. And I think it's a big what if in our recent history. What if he didn't get injured? I think we would have got to playoffs at least. But it was still a very respectable season from a newly promoted club, of course, 69 points. In the summer of 2018, we made 4 signings that would go on to win us promotion. Of course, we signed Dean Henderson on loan from Man United to play net. We splashed out on John Egan from Brentford for £4 million. We got experienced midfielder Ollie Norwood from Brighton on a loan with an option to buy. And then we signed David McGoldrick on a free after a trial period in the summer. And although we didn't know it yet, they would be the missing pieces of the puzzle to win promotion to the Premier League. We started the season quite shaky with back-to-back losses, but after that we were flying. We then won 4 games in a row, including the one against Aston Villa 4-1 at home. And for me anyway, it was that game against Aston Villa that made me think, could we get promoted to the Premier League? Because we were so rampant that day, we were so dominant, of course won 4-1. And the new signings just seemed to fit in so easily and all the cogs were turning. From that period I've just mentioned to 16th of March, we were sitting around the playoffs, I think about 3rd. Leeds were sitting 2nd at the time, went there and won 1-0 thanks to Basham arriving. And that truly felt like the day we snatched 2nd place off of Leeds. Fast forward a few games to the Easter period, we won 2-0 on the Friday against Nottingham Forest, then 3-0 away to Hull on the Monday. And in that same period of time, Leeds lost 2-1 to Wigan and 2-0 to Brentford. And I just want to say in this video now, Gavin Massey, we've never forgotten your service, as he scored the double for Wigan in that game at Ellen Road to beat them 2-1. Of course, that game against Ipswich, where we won 2-0, was the one that effectively sealed our promotion to the Premier League. And we finished the season on 89 points in 2nd place, winning automatic promotion to the Premier League. And that takes us to the Premier League season of 2019-20. Where do I start? I think every single pundit, every single betting website put us 20th in the table. And I think out of everyone on the planet, I think only Sheffield United fans thought we could stay up. Of course, in that summer, we spent a decent amount of money signing players such as Callum Robinson, Leeds Mousset and Ollie McBurney. Even after signing all them players, no one thought we had a chance to stay up, but we started the season decent. In the month of August, we got draws at Bournemouth and Chelsea, in beating Crystal Palace, of course losing to Leicester as well. But September to December is really where our season started. We beat Everton, Arsenal and Burnley, as well as getting draws against Tottenham and against Man United. We'd continue on that steady form until the league stopped in March. Of course that was the year COVID hit in March. Of course the league was stopped until June. And COVID was eventually what stopped our momentum and stopped us getting in the European places. Despite that, we still managed to beat Tottenham 3-1 and Chelsea 3-0. Of course we finished the season 9th on 54 points, of course only conceded 39 goals, and there was only 3 other teams in the league that conceded less. But now I want to look at the tactical side of the game and see how we did it. As you can see now on the screen, our neutral shape was like a 5-3-2. Of course we had the 3 centre-backs of O'Connell, Egan and Basham, then the wing-backs of Stevens and Baldock. Then we had 3 midfield with Fleck and Lundstram sitting a bit higher than Norwood. And then the 2 strikers, we had 3 or 4 strikers that would play. I've used McGoldrick and McBurney for this example. So first I'm going to look at the defensive phase of play, of course how we set up when we're defending. Obviously when you've got 3 central midfielders and no wingers, there's no width in the team. But as you can see now, when we're defending, we push them centre mids a bit wide. Or there may be a case where one centre mid's quite central, the other's quite wide. I'll use Fleck on the right hand side as an example here. As you can see now, Baldock, Fleck and Basham cause this like triangle to stop their wingers. This would essentially make it 2-on-3 or 1-on-3. Because of course you'd have the winger running in that channel, then you may have a striker or a centre mid going to that channel as well. So you could get them 3 players in a defensive position, and then the striker may drop back a bit to cover that centre mid. And I think with this system, both defending and attacking, it was about overloading areas. And when we got the ball back, it wasn't just about lumping it to striker, it was just about playing the game. We looked to get it to likes of Fleck and especially Norwood to try and dictate that play. And this is where the fun of the attacking starts. Because as soon as we got the ball back, we looked to overload them areas in attack. As you can see now, Baldock's on the ball, it's about these triangles again. As soon as the wing backs or even the central midfielders pick up the ball, centre backs will go overlapping. And that's really where we start to overload teams, where we get 3 or 4 in the same position. As you can see, the play progressed a bit more now. Of course, Basham has the ball now. And when the centre back on that side picks up the ball, he has 2 or 3 options to pass to. The midfielder and the striker on that side will come close to provide a passing option. And then after wing back pass the ball to the centre back, he'll look to underlap and get into the box. And then the striker and the wing back on the other side will look to make an option in the box for a cross. And our wing backs got some decent goal involvement that season because of this method. We looked to overload the box and try and cause a crossing situation, but it wasn't always just lumping it into the box and hoping an option is there, because a couple of them may hang back at the edge of the box for a passing option. So it gave us a bit of a differential, a bit of fluidity in our play. And you may be thinking, were we exposed defensively? Of course, there was one of the centre backs missing, there was only 2 centre backs and maybe a wing back there. But what we used to do, especially against threatening teams, is you can see Norwood has dropped into the centre back position. The central centre back would usually move over to the right or the left, depending which centre back's gone, and then the one on the side would seem to hold their position. Because we overloaded areas pretty well in attack, the opposition had no choice but to bolster the defence. They had to keep more players back to cover the ones running into the box, which means there was less threat on the counter attack. And as you can see now, Lundstram is the spare centre mid in this scenario who would cover the striker. And as you can see now, O'Connell in this situation may come up to press him as well. And of course, it worked so well that season, teams didn't know how to deal with it. And that season, it was just so unique and such a joy to watch. Of course, the following season, we would get relegated and Wilder would leave. Of course, a couple of the main factors felt was O'Connell's career-ending injury and of course no fans in COVID. Wilder would leave the job in March 2021, which brought a whirlwind 4.5 years to a close. But our journey to the Premier League and the tactics behind it will never be forgotten. I had a lot of fun making that video, going down memory lane. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I'd be happy to do more of these videos, more tactical videos if you wanted that. Of course, you'll have to let me know in the comments what videos you enjoy, what you want to see more of on this channel. Thank you for the support on this channel so far. It's been brilliant since I started about a month and a half ago. And I just want to keep on doing what I'm doing and bring more Blades content to you guys. As always, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, subscribe to the channel. Like I mentioned, let me know in the comments what you want to see more of, and I'll see you guys in the next one.